Nice. That's an Easter egg in our music video. Every time there's a shot of cleavage, the next shot
It's Steve.
is Steve. Every time. Every time.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna look for it.
Yeah, now you will. You'll be sitting on. Okay, boobs, Steve. Boobs.
Yeah.
That can be a reason for specifically looking for the cleavage.
Super Cool Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Super Cool Radio interview. I'm your host, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have some awesome guests joining me at this time who I'm excited to have on the podcast. Coming up on June 13th, Limberlost will release their new album entitled Beautiful Scars. Please welcome Limberlost.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
What's happening?
Of course. Thank you all so much for joining me. And before we really dive into everything, I will introduce everyone here real quick. So we got Brittany on vocals. We have Steve on bass. We got Tony on keys. And Mike on drums. I like the coordination. That was good.
We practiced that before the thing.
Good, it shows.
Yeah, we warmed up.
Very nice. All right, so I know we got quite a bit to discuss with Limberlost. You guys have been very busy this year. A lot of exciting things going on for you guys. But before we jump into everything, so I am curious for you guys and to kind of introduce everybody. So how did the current lineup for the band come together?
No, he's got to tell us.
Start.
All right. Well, we, the band's been through a few members over time, and we came out of our last European tour, and then we had a couple shows last summer, and we kind of just knew things were, we'd had a person that we parted ways with, we had another person that parted ways with us, and so we were just kind of in that holding pattern, using some hired guns, getting through the shows. And we just kind of knew that things weren't going to quite keep progressing the way they were. So,
yeah, we just really realized that there was a difference in goals.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have a group of people together when your goals are not aligned.
Right.
And so we kind of came to this reckoning, and actually the band broke up. If you can believe it, the whole band was broken there for a minute. And I started writing music that was just like, screw everything, I'm going to write music for me kind of a thing. And some of those songs, we started listening to them and wow, okay, well, gosh, what about that album concept that we came up with for Limberlost so long ago? And it was crazy because the album was almost like we lived it. Because the concept of the whole album, based on Kinsugi is that when something breaks, there's an art form in Japan when something breaks that they'll actually repair it with gold, and so that word and that name kind of means to be more beautiful because you were broken. And so Limberlost ended up kind of living that whole thing where the band itself broke, and then we started piecing it back together with this music. And after we had the music, we started looking for a new lineup that had similar goals as us and what we wanted to do. And I think it's kind of neat because it came together, like how we say in the album, and just like that word can see that. I think it's beautiful. It certainly has blossomed. So Brittany and I were working and writing and stuff, and then we talked to Tony, and he was we sent him the material, and because he's just a key whiz, man. I mean, this whole album, as we were writing, we were going, dude, Tony's we're gonna be kicking his butt with this stuff.
And then I'll let Steve tell the other part and how they got in. But it just kind of all came back together very quickly, actually, and much stronger. Like she said, much more beautiful in our opinion.
Mike reached out and asked me if I knew anybody that was interested in, joining them to on bass and guitar. And it had been a while since I had seen or heard anything that they'd been doing. So I said, well, send me your stuff and I'll take a listen to it and see who would best fit your, for what you guys are doing. And he sent me the stuff and I listened to it and I was like, fuck, man, this stuff is really good. And so I reached out to my son, Devin, and I was like, hey, man, have you heard the new Limberlost stuff? And he goes, no, I haven't heard it yet, but they've called me a couple of times. And so I sent it over to Devin, and he actually listened to it. And he called me back about an hour later, and he's like, holy shit, this stuff is off the chain, man. This is like really good. And so him and I discussed it back and forth, and we said, hey, let's do this. So I called Mike back, and I was like, hey, man, I think I found you guys a bass player and a guitar player. And he's like, sweet, who you got? And I was like, well, how about me and Devin? And they were like, no. So we jumped in, and now here we are. A couple months later, you guys came up from Texas, and we're here at my place in my studio, like day 5 of rehearsals now. So it's coming along great. Well, at least the bass parts are.
Yeah.
Well, very nice. Obviously, so like with Limberlost, obviously I've heard the name. Like I saw, back a few years ago, you guys were doing stuff, and then like you went, silent, for a while, and then obviously now you guys are back with everything. So it's nice to see that you guys you're recording and releasing new music. So, which kind of leads me to obviously what I mentioned in my intro, which is the new album, Beautiful Scars, set to release June 13th. So like for anyone, obviously when it is released, like what can people expect musically and lyrically?
I think it kicks ass. I think everybody's going to love it. I mean, I played in many bands of different types of music, and I got a pretty open mind on most music. But I'm also very brutal when it comes to music, because you hear stuff that's just been rehashed and it's like, it's the same old shit regurgitated, and a bunch of new people playing it and they put it on a new album. But when I heard this, I was like, fuck, it's fresh. It's rocking. I was impressed, and I'm not like really easily impressed, which is, why I said, hey man, Devin, let's get in this band. These guys are going to do some shit. So here we are. So yeah, buckle your seatbelts. I think it's good. I think it's great.
Thank you. It's definitely a departure. It's a departure. Are you talking, Tony?
Yeah, I think. Are you muted or?
I can't hear.
Hold on.
We'll do a lip reading. Tony, move your lips.
Yeah, you talk and I'll speak for you. I'm Tony and I'm gay. This is my girl. This is my girlfriend.
I'm gay.
We got your back. I love you too, Tony. Yeah. I love you.
Something about this, the music, it's quite a departure from where we've been. I think we've written some really good tunes in the past, and we've always been blessed with having songwriters. At one point I think we had 4, songwriters in the group. But this particular, I think a lot of it because Brittany and I kind of buried ourselves into the project, and we didn't go through a lot of that filtering that tends to happen when you got 14 cooks. We were able to come up with something that was very cohesive, and like she alluded to, we had a concept album idea on the table for couple 2 or 3 years, and it was in fact we wrote a couple of these songs when we were coming back from Europe, but we just never really had the cohesiveness of a team to be able to put it together like we do now. So I think you're gonna hear something pretty fresh. I think you're gonna hear something pretty exciting. I love the sonics of the album are you just don't hear. We had a guy, a vocal guru that did some work with us on Alien. And when he called me up the first time, and this is a guy that's worked with like Celine Dion and Katy Perry and Lady Gaga and all that. And he calls me up and he's like, Mike, this is some straight up Mutt Lange shit. Now I'm an old guy, so I know Mutt Lange, and I'm like, he's like talking production, that's some of the, because Mutt is one of the best producers out there. And so that was a huge compliment, but it really spoke to the fact that the music, I think, has got its own voice and its own dynamic, that you're not going to, nobody quite nails it on the head. We've had some good, comparisons, but they put 2 or 3 people together to get to that comparison. So we don't sound like just anybody else.
I'm not sure how the band can figure out how to turn on his mic.
This is just gonna be the interview of will Tony be able to speak at some point?
Yes. Anyway, I don't know if that answered your question, Matthew.
Yeah, it does, and I kind of want to follow up with that because obviously, like with you guys' music, as you were talking about, like it is very fresh that it combines like obviously metal and rock and even some classical stuff in there and as well. So like, how is it like fusing like all of that music into the Limberlost sound?
Well, I'll speak to that one. How do I want to start this? Well, I'll say that Limberlost is the brand itself. We take that Limberlost forest and this idea that anything and everyone meets in the forest, right? That's that place. It's sort of like we were once compared to Noah's Ark because you'll find a little bit of everything, like all political orientations, all religious orientations, just like all kinds of everything inside of Limberlost. And inside of our camp and inside of our fans, we have that. So to me, writing music wasn't so much about keeping it like it has to be rock or it has to be metal. It was more like it served the song or what the song was about. So, you're going to hear some really interesting stuff on this album. You're going to hear some really heavy, fast-paced stuff that's just going to, melt your face. And then you're going to hear some laid-back, almost jazz. You're going to hear some really cool stuff. But I think that if you like, actually, most recently we were compared if Blondie and Evanescence had a baby, that's us. Like, that's a great comparison. I think that if you have ever liked, Evanescence, or if you've ever even liked, I don't know, Lady Gaga, if you've ever liked Hailstorm, if you've ever liked some of these, heavier stuff, even to some of the lighter stuff, I think you would find a home here in the Limberlost as well. So, me. What are they doing? The peanuts?
Tony, you should jump in on your phone.
I'm just saying, come back on your phone. Okay, bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Back in the closet.
Yeah.
So, like back to the music for me, it's the toughest part about the whole Limberlost sound is it's like it's discipline that less is more. I mean, and I've been with Metal Church for 22, 23 years now, and that was always about driving and pushing and pushing and pushing and constantly just jamming it right in their face. And this one is completely opposite of that. Limberlost is about just pulling back the reins and just holding everything super solid. And for me as a bass player, that even though it's simpler to play this stuff, it's just keeping the idea in my mind that less is more for this music, and you have to play it for the music. You can't play it because this is what you're used to doing. You have to play it for the song. And it's probably making me a better bass player just by not playing the way I normally play. Just pulling back the reins and just being way more disciplined on each note that I'm doing instead of just riffing out and whipping it the whole time. So that that's what I got to say about at least the bass portion of it.
So
we did a lot of count stuff too, so that was what was interesting. It's like it appears to be very simplistic in its nature, but when you start tearing it apart, it's like I think the guy's like, damn, no 2 choruses are the same, no 2 verses are the same. We always throw a little extra different count at you, but you don't notice it. but as a player, when you go to play, you're like, oh man, that's not, I can't just rinse and repeat every time.
No,
You know?
you either you got to know the entire song from beginning to end, note for note, or you're gonna fuck it up. So
That's true.
And it's
That is
all
true.
hidden under music you can move to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Which is cool.
very much, very much one of the things we wanted to do, make sure that we were presenting a product also that, people could move to, groove to, that they could sing along to, that it was, that there was motion involved in everything, that we weren't just, no offense to people that, play music for themselves, but that's not really what we were attempting here. We were trying to bring something that, that the masses could get their arms around and then tell us what they think, kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely, like, from what I've heard so far, I have definitely really enjoyed it because, yes, it does, like, allow you to move, but it's also so different that, like, there's no very good way to describe it because you guys are just uniquely you with it. And I think that really shows in, like, the music, especially what's been released lately. But I'm kind of curious for you guys, you're talking about, like, your approach a little bit to this, like, album and music. But, like, with Limberlost, do you have to, like, change your perspective on music to, like, write and record these songs?
Brittany, that's a Brittany and Mike question there.
I don't really think so. I think what it did for us was previous iterations of this band, we had created habits on how we wrote and habits on how we recorded and how we produced, and then
they actually slowed us down.
There was habits that, because of ignorance, because this is the problem with most musicians. We watch the rock and roll world and think and gain a perspective of it, and then we think that's what it is. And when you get on the other side of the curtain, you realize, and you really start being honest with yourself, it's not like that, and so you have people that think they know how to record when they really don't, or you think you have people that know how to write when they're not writing, they think they know how to write a hit song, but they really don't, because some of the mechanics and the science involved hasn't been considered, and yes, it's art, and we are trying to do art, but we also are in the business of music. So the business of music requires a business mindset and also a scientific approach to what we do. And
if I might interject, what was interesting about this album is that then when we started going down the path, we, again, Limberlost was broken. Mm-hmm. And so it was all of those habits or considerations or things that we had in the past were really not there. It was more like, okay, well, now it was about the music, like truly about the lyrics and the vibe and the feel. And every single one of these, we wanted to have like a very unique, like, mood and feel, you know what I mean? Vibe, I guess, is the best way that I can put it, but just something there. And so once we had all of the music, that's when we said, okay, now we want to find the players. So this has been a totally different approach to a Limberlost album than anything that's ever happened before. And I think it really suits where we are all at as musicians, because every single musician in this band is a professional musician. Like we do this outside of here. We're highly educated in it. Some of us are career musicians, like Steve over here. So we are a group of. There's not a hobbyist here. You know what I mean? We're all in this to win it, and so it's a totally different approach than how anything has ever happened before. It's very exciting. Yeah. All right, Tony.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah, look
Tony,
at
we're done
that.
now.
What I've been trying to say for the last 20 minutes is what a load of crap. You can't listen to anything these guys say, and nobody could hear me. So we're just going to wipe everything out. No, actually, a lot of the things they were saying was exactly what I was going to say. I don't know where the conversation wound up going, but to kind of reiterate what I heard from Steve and Mike, and probably Brittany said something similar, is that the music is just very, I can't think of anybody doing anything quite like this. It doesn't really compare to very many things, and if so, it's kind of in a tangent. Even I've been in Limberlost for, they tell me, 7 years, playing with Mike and Brittany, and there's nothing that Limberlost has done that's like this either. This is like just some really, really new shit. It's really, really great music, and I think everybody's going to really like it.
I think from what I've heard so far, I've definitely been enjoying it. So I'm curious for you guys, for all of you, what is your favorite song off the album? Tony, I want to start with you now that we can hear you.
It's kind of hard. It keeps changing. I really like Buried. I really like Playing Games, but also Alien, which is the first release, is freaking awesome. I mean, that's the one that really kind of grabs everybody. The second one on the album is Playing Games, and by the time they get to Buried, they're just going, "Oh my God, who are these people? This is great music." And Alone is another great one. It's just so many. There's not really a weak song in the album, and it's kind of interesting because everybody in the band seems to have a different favorite. So if you go to Steve, he'll tell you he'll have a totally different list, I think. But yeah, those are, at one point, every one of those has been my favorite. It just kind of keeps changing.
Yeah, I think that the album is full of amazing songs. The first time I heard the album, I picked my favorite song, and that was Man on the Run. And I think it still holds up to be my favorite song today. It's kind of like the most driving song that's on the album. Maybe it resonates with me because it brings me back to more where I come from. Where I'm
running from the police. Yeah.
The song the whole day. The whole song I'm pushing it. And, it's looking she's going, hurry up, keep it going. So that's one song that off the new album that we're pushing all the time. And the other 9 songs are amazing and great, but all of those are all like hold the reins back song, where Man on the Run, you're just like wide open throttle all through it.
Well, I would have to say, as one of the songwriters, it's hard to pick your favorite baby, but I would probably back it up. I mean, everybody, when I send that stuff over to Paul Crosby, the first one out of the gate, dude, that Alien song, and we found that to be a really consistent thing. It was always a list of 4, but Alien was always one of them from somebody, so that's what drove us. Plus, it's a really interesting song, so if we're trying to get the message across that, hey, you think what Limberlost sounds like, check this out. That song definitely, pulls the curtain to one side. But the song that really got me out of the gate is where I'm going to go with this, because I love them all. I there's not one that I don't enjoy playing and don't enjoy having my name on. But the first time she played Buried for me, I want to say that was, when she came in and said, hey, just check this song out. And I listened to it. And I don't think she thought it was a Limberlost song at the time. And I listened to it and I was going, this is 100% a new Limberlost song, in my opinion. And it just caught me. I made this connection many times. That it's just got a certain level of creep to it. It's got, it's got like a Tim Burton feel to it to me, when I see the cinematic side of it. And I just thought it was a real special song. And to me, it kind of defined where we were going. So. Didn't know that, did you?
I did not know that. Mine, I love them all, just like Tony, but the one that stands out to me definitely, it got exactly the vibe I wanted. I wanted the vibe of like confrontation, that like, oh yeah, well, I heard you've been saying something, like, you know what I mean? And you go confront someone about that, but from a very feminine perspective. Like having all of that kind of confrontational energy, but also having all of your feminine energy. And I just feel that I captured that in Playing Games. I feel like that every time I hear it, it's exactly what I wanted. It's seething and just so cool. I'm like, that's probably the one I'm the most proud of on the album is Playing Games. It was exactly the vibe I wanted. So, yeah.
Very nice. Well, I'm very excited to listen to the new album when it obviously is officially out on June 13th. I'll leave some links for Limberlost. Make sure to check it out, pre-save it, all of that fun stuff. Pre-order it as well. As we're closing out this interview, so what is like the rest of 2025 looking like for you guys? I saw you got some shows coming up as well.
Well, we're looking at a bunch of shows at a nudist colony. No, we have, we've got a couple anchor shows that were booked before all this. because one of the things that happened, even though we kind of slowed down a little bit in terms of production and all that, the brand still lived pretty strong. And so there were people coming out, and I'm one of those yes until it's no guys. So as people approached us about doing shows, even we didn't even have a band yet, I was saying, yeah, sure, you know, because it was like 8 months down the road kind of thing. So so, you know, the ICE Awards puts us down in Atlanta. So now that, you know, since that's there, we're planning on doing you know, maybe a 4 or 5, 6 other shows around that. That'll be all down in the Southeast. So pretty much like going from South Texas to Florida, you know, down in that range, Louisiana, Mississippi. And then we got to come back up here at the end of September, back up here, the Pacific Northwest. And we have a Rock the Lots, which we're opening for bands like Third Eye Blind, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Dorothy, I think Seether's on that bill, some pretty big names. And so we're going to come out and play at that. It's a Sunday, so we're wrapping up the festival. So we're going to be doing a little mini run through the Pacific Northwest, probably a Friday in Seattle, Saturday in Portland, and then on up to that deal. And then who knows from there? There's a lot of iron still in the fire. We built this band, though. This band is built to tour. So we, you know, writing music's great and we love it, and we will continue to do it. In fact, we've already got a song or two for the next album that might squeak its way onto the set list.
It was like
that one right there. Yep,
you know, here's the funny part is when it comes out, you'll be like, oh, that's the song they were talking
that's the
about.
Nee song.
Oh.
Yeah. But
you were here first.
Yep. So we're planning. You know, we got a lot of guff for dropping a whole album. You know,
Yeah,
because people don't just do that anymore. So we dropped the single, and then we're dropping the whole album. And there's some very specific reasons behind that I won't go to depth in. But you know, we are going to continue to push through video and through radio and stuff. Several singles on this album, probably through the end of the year, and then expect probably some new music to be coming out probably next spring. You know, late winter, early spring, and we'll probably be a little more traditional and releasing a few singles when we do that, and drop another EP or album after, you know, before this time next year. So that's all happening. But you know, mostly I think the reason we're kind of getting all that in the chambers because we're expecting that we will be picking up a lot of dates and getting out on tour, you know. So that's pretty much what I would expect to see from us. And of course, you know, we gotta park over to the side when Mariah Carey comes out, you know, for a month and a half, and you know, find something else to do. But then we'll be back at it after that.
Everybody has to make room. All musicians all year wait for when they have to just step aside for Mariah Carey.
And let Mariah Carey and all that Christmas crap come out.
That's what Christmas
She
time.
needs all the help she can get. Yeah.
That's very true. Very true. So now, as we're closing out this interview, so for everyone watching, where are the best places to find Limberlost online?
Okay, well, first of all, limberlostmusic.com. We are actually running a promo, which I think should still be happening, which is if you want to get the album for free, you can actually click on the link on the website. You can find the album on our Shopify. You go just Google search Limberlost Shopify, you'll find it. You have to enter the code Limberlost10 to get your
All
free
caps.
signed copy, all caps, Limberlost10. That's Limberlost10. You'll get a free signed copy of our album. So please go do that. And the other really cool thing is our website has all sorts of really cool stuff. It's got videos, it's got all new stuff, and there is a VIP access for $35 a year. You can join that and you get to see all the behind the scenes. We have our entire European tour, every single show in its full form. We have all the behind the scenes pranks. You can see the behind the scenes of the making of Alien, and of course it's where we always put all new content before it gets released.
Yeah.
So,
And you'll see the Nudist Colony gigs there too. So,
Yes, yes.
Sure to look for that.
Full uncensored. That's right.
Full Monty. You can also catch us on Spotify at Limberlost Music and YouTube. You can go check out the new Alien video. It's kicking some butt out there. We just got added to an editorial on Pandora. If you want to go give us a thumbs up on Pandora, we'd sure appreciate that. All the places. You know, if there's a streaming platform out there, we're probably on it. And of course, you know, all our music's available on iTunes and Amazon and all the online record outlets and stuff will have us too. So.
Well, very good. I'll make it even easier. I'll leave some links for Limberlost in the description of this podcast.
Sweet.
Please check out and support them. As I said, June 13th, new album Beautiful Scars will be available. Make sure to pre-order it, get it for free as well on the Shopify. I'll have that link in there as well. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. It was awesome to chat with you all.
Cool, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
right.
it.
Of course.
All right.
Thanks.
Peace out.
Of course, for Limberlost, I'm your host always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.